we went to the conference, and it was really a very spectacular thing. It was over a couple of days. Uh, because it really was international, and it was wonderful meeting people from all over the world. Really, it was really very, very spectacular, especially the opening part of it, where they were having all these things which were really, really great. uh, they with a lot of it began like with bringing in flags from all over the world, people carrying in their flags, and that was very spectacular. It was in a great big arena, and it was so big, so many people that they had to do it in two sections. So they put on one section, and then everybody, and then they put on a second section of everything. So it was really huge. I had never been to something as big as that. It was lovely. They had all these nice things going on, opening of the conference. Uh, like one thing they had these children, the Suzuki violinist children, and there were 300 of them playing. Now, can you imagine that? Talking about spectacles, because this was in Japan, they were putting on sort of this entertainment. Uh, but but then all the other things, of course, were international. They had all these meetings of the Rotarians themselves, which I didn't go to, of course. Um, but that was divided up into different sections, I guess. I'm not really sure how, because I wasn't really involved in that. Um, but it was fun to see all this and to hear about all the things that were going on. In an organization like Rotary, everybody has a say in something. It isn't, that it's very well. What I was going to say, ecumenical, but that isn't really the word. You know what I mean? Uh, there were a whole group that went from here, and we all got our reservations through this one fellow. Those from here. Um, Not necessarily Sayville, but from this district of Long Island. Um, we all got our reservations and everything through this one travel agent, and I'll tell you about some of that later. That I'm so glad we had somebody who was a travel agent. I knew some. I knew a couple of them. Not, but we got to be friends, being together like that. It was wonderful. It was really a spectacle to see. I was so glad that we were able to go. They had all this music on before, with the drums and the all the music of these three-stringed instruments, which sounds kind of punky, but that's from over there. A lot of that was put on because it was the Oriental, is where they were having it. It's in a different country always, whenever they have any of these conferences. Well, before anything started, Harold and I would go around exploring. You know us. When we do anything, we're going to see everything possible, whether it's planned for us or not. It was fun just going out on the street and walking and seeing all the people. Just not the Rotarians necessarily, just walking on the street. As I told Judy Ann and Wendy, I said they'd love it over here because everybody was our size. Tokyo is very crowded. Yes, it's really a big city. Of course, this was quite a few years ago, so I really don't know what it's like now. The entertainment, about 250 plus high school girls with pom poms, symphony orchestra, Noah presentation, which is the Japanese drama from over there, Shinto priests, uh, and I told you about the 300 violin children, the Suzuki children, and that was just for the opening before any meetings of the real Rotarians took place. So there was so much to see and hear and learn about. I wrote down here, they were dancing in the aisles, the entertainment right in front of us. I said, "It's part of this," but it would have to be all over the place, because this was a huge auditorium. And then we had gone out to dinner. That was not included. We had our dinner 30 floors up in a French restaurant, 30 stories up. We had a super dinner, I said, but it was expensive. Now, the conference itself, I mean, there were all these meetings which the men went to, and parts of these, I had met a lot of these women, so we would get together, we had to stick together. We wouldn't go off by ourselves any place in Japan, in Tokyo. So anyway, we would, if they were having a meeting or something, we women would get together and go and, and have some time together. That night, we had called a friend of ours here from Sayville, was a young girl at the time, had a pen pal over in Japan. And this friend of ours, who was just like maybe just out of high school or during high school, she wrote and told this girl that we were coming over. Could we possibly meet someplace? So of course this girl said yes, and we did. So we planned. We called this Japanese girl who did speak some English, so which was good. Uh, and we met in the hotel, and we said, "How will we know who you are?" And she said, "Well, I have short, straight black hair." I think every girl in Japan has short, straight black hair. Anyway, we're milling around in the hotel lobby, and this girl is doing the same thing. So we finally got together, and we knew that that was the girl we were supposed to be meeting. And she said, "I want to take you to my house." And we said, "Oh, that's very nice." So we knew that this was going to happen. So I said to Harold, "What would you take, over to someone if you're going to a house for dinner? What kind of a hostess gift or something should you bring?" So we asked people in the hotel. We we had to know what to do. We didn't want to make any faux pas. So anyway, they said, "Well, maybe you could take flowers or a plant or something like that." Well, it seemed there was a florist sort of connected with this hotel. So we went in there and we said, well, we explained what we wanted. Lots of people do speak English. So we not completely lose ends when you go over to something like that. So they said, a plant would be very nice. So we go into the florist and we're looking around at plants. I see this pretty flowering plant. It was quite tall. Anyway, we buy it. We're going to take it. So when the girl that we're meeting comes over to us, we find out who she is, and we said, well, we'll call a taxi to get to your house. She said, oh no, she says, I want her to experience the subway here. Well, if you've heard about the subways in Paris, where they push you on because it's so crowded, that is true, or it was in those days anyway. So here we are in this very crowded subway, being pushed down the train, and here's Harold holding this big plant. He said, "You would pick out something like this." We had to change trains, but of course she knew what she was doing. So anyway, we finally got onto the second train, and we got to her house. And we get there. Now her parents do not speak any English at all. So we get in her house, and the first thing, of course, after introductions and whatnot, they were very charming people, I should say. Anyway, uh, they took us into this one room, and they were going to have what was it, drinks or something first, and we this low table, cushions on the floor, and we sat there and we had cakes and tea or something like that at that time. And the girl was always translating what her parents were saying and what we were saying. So that was very interesting, to be in someone's home like that. Just in hotels and whatnot, you don't get to really know people. Anyway, we're in this home, and the people were lovely. And then the girl said to us, "Well, my parents decided they would make a lot of different kind of Japanese uh, dishes, like maybe small amounts of dishes, like you would take maybe on a picnic or something, so that you get a chance to really see what Japanese food is like." Of course, that's great. Of course, a lot of it, is fish, and your mother does not eat any fish. Anyway, some of this fish is raw too, you know. Yeah, okay. But the way they prepare it and all, I didn't. He ate it. He ate it, although he hates fish. He ate it. Here we were guests in their home, and we were sitting on these little on a cushion of mat or something on the floor, and a little table in front of us. Was very interesting. Now, it was all these different dishes. Didn't know what we were eating really half the time, but when you're in someone's home and they're entertaining you, you can't say no. I don't want to eat that. Well, they always sit on the floor. They don't sit. They don't use cushions. I mean, tables and chairs. They have low tables, as though maybe you were eating at a coffee table. A low coffee table. And and the mother, she kept serving. She did not sit down and eat with us really, but the father did. And when he came home from work, he changed out of the clothes that he was wearing and put on a kimono. Normal of at least it was then. Now this is all those years ago. I don't know what it's like today, but that was very interesting. And the woman, of course, wore Japanese clothing. But he was wearing a suit when he went to work, so he must have been in. I don't know exactly what he was doing, but anyway, when he came home, he put on a kimono. That's like get out of your work clothes. No, she was the only one, but then she was engaged to be married to this boy, so he was there too. So he came, I guess, when he was finished work. He was a baker or something. And he worked here in the United States for part of the time. So he could speak a little English too, as well as mom. Her name was Mommy, Momi. Uh, so when you look, you're talking with somebody, you call them Mommy. It's sort of strange. That was very interesting to have this meal with them, and she translated everything to her parents, and then she was the translator in between all of us. It was fun. I said the woman when we were having our meal. That was up in another room. We had to go upstairs to another room. They have like a lot of small rooms in their homes. So the first room we were in was where we had the tea and then when it was dinner time, they took us upstairs and they had lots of little dishes so that we could taste all these things. I mean, that was very nice of them to do this for us. And she never sat down to eat with us. She was always making another pot of tea. They had a big urn of something with the hot water in, and she was constantly making more tea and bringing it over to us and serving us. And she didn't eat, I guess, till we were finished. I don't really remember that. But some of the things that they had were really, really interesting little dishes. And it was good. It was good to serve that way because if it was something you really didn't like, you didn't have to eat much of it. See, that was that. I think that was very smart of them. Soup was served halfway through the meal. Well, we have our soup first. Soup was served halfway through the meal, and plain rice always with everything, and Japanese beer. That was very interesting. I'm not a connoisseur of beer to begin with, so Harold said it was good. I drank it, but to me, beer is beer. Now, maybe if it was wine, I might be able to tell a little bit, but not beer. Oh, it was green tea always. And then the special Japanese cake. Uh, this the kazi. Kazu was uh, the girl's, uh, the fellow she was going to marry. They were going to be married shortly after that. And when we left to go, they gave us two little Japanese cups, which were like little pots with covers on them. And I had the smaller one, and they gave Harold the larger one. That was customary. The woman got the smaller one, the man got the larger one. I still have those, and they kept. That's what they kept filling the teacups, and she kept going. But she to serve us. Now here we are sitting on the floor. She was practically on her knees, going around serving us more and more tea, and these various dishes. So that was very interesting. Oh, they also gave us fans, Japanese fans, which I have. The two, mine was smaller than Harold's. Now, now, whether it's still like that today, I don't know. I must ask Wendy about that because she was there not too many years ago, To go, I said, "Well, we'll call a taxi." She says, "No, we'll get on the subway with you, and take you to where we had to change the trains, and I'm sure you'll be able to find your way to the hotel." I wouldn't have done that, but Harold was always very brave. Uh, so anyway, we got back home fine. So there was no problem. Oh, some of the things that I saw, which, as again, I think I mentioned this before, but we thought we were so ahead of all these other people in other countries. But there were things that I saw there that we didn't get till many years later. One of them was the tickets from vending machines. We didn't have that here back then. You could buy your tickets, push your buttons and get your put your money in and get the ticket out. Of course, you have that today here, but then it was the first time I ever saw that. So that was very different. And when you're waiting at the subway station, there were things. They had bumps on the walkways when it got close to the train for people, for blind people. They could tell that would not to get too close to the tracks. Have you ever seen that? Me. We went to a kabuki theater. Now kabuki is very ornate costumes, and they yell out loud. The actors, that's part of this, and the audience can yell back at them if they want. But that's what it sounded like, a lot of yelling to us. But of course, they were saying something and it meant something, which we didn't understand. But at least we got to see that. And you didn't have to stay all through the whole thing. We could come and go. Now, whether this is what they do or whether this is what we were told to do, I don't know. Oh, we had to go out for dinner that night. Uh, to a little Japanese restaurant we went, and the menu was in French. The little French that I know that I studied in high school. You know how much you get in high school as far as, and I'm sure it was much less in my day than it was in yours. This was not in the main thrust of things. Uh, we didn't know how to order, much of anything. Well, the waiter came over to me at one point and he said to me, "Blitter lice. Blitter lice." He asked me 3 times, I think. I didn't know what he was saying. What finally I got to somebody, I don't know, but I did get to what he was asking me, being from the West and not an Easterner, did I want bread or rice? Rice over there is like bread. I mean, everything is based on rice. And so he was asking blitter lice, his pronunciation. Did I want bread or rice? I don't remember what I said. I don't know what I asked for, but that was interesting. It was interesting how they served this meal at this restaurant we went to, because everything was served at once: salad, soup, the entree, uh, and everything was served at once. At this, I don't know whether that's normal, but anyway, that's what what we did. But then one thing over there, if you go to a restaurant, Before you go in the window of the restaurant, if it's like a storefront would be, they have models of all the food that's being served. You could look at it and know what it was then before you ordered, so you know what you will get. I thought that was very clever. Well, it was like a storefront. How they put all the things in a window, and this, they in every restaurant, you could look and see what things were, and to help you order. I thought that was very clever. The conference then very nice. It had many nice things. At the very end of it, there was this great big dinner and a ball after it, really, to call it, with dancing and everything. It was a really dressed up affair. I mean, the men all wore suits, and we wore long dresses. It was really nice. Of course, there was a dance after it, and of course, Harold and I danced. uh, it was fun.